Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Today, I have an assortment of experiences to share with you. I also have some video out of the Adirondack area where Tom Mezek disappeared. I went up there last night for about a half an hour, and pretty interesting. I'll explain after the links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? I guess we'll start today's upload off with my quick trip up to where Tom Mezek disappeared. And an idea or a theory that I am starting to get. So I went up there. It was pitch black, and I just pulled in the parking area. I brought my camera with me and the shofar. I didn't bring my backpack. I didn't bring my KS7. I brought nothing with me. I had no intent on walking down any of the trails. I just wanted to go to the parking area. Now, if you watched the documentary, a little documentary I made about a couple years ago about Tom Mezek and the area where he disappeared, and I interviewed the chief of the firehouse, the fire chief, his wife, who were responsible for the majority of the search and rescue people. That was kind of like base camp, was the firehouse. I interviewed the state trooper. I interviewed the undersheriff, town supervisor, and the lady who owns the only store in Brant Lake. Now, Lily Pond Road is a dirt road. To get there, you drive off of Route 8, which is a paved road, obviously. And you go maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles in, and there's a parking area. And there's the two trails that kind of lead off. One Lily Pond Trail, which is the main trail of the area. The wash isn't even really a trail. It is and it isn't. So, interesting thing about that parking area is the woman who owns the store, and it's kind of like your general store, like they have, you get anything, sodas, kind of subs, trinkets of the Adirondacks, anything small town you want, it's there. Her husband, and her two kids had gone on a walk. And they had walked down Lily Pond Road into where the parking area is, going toward the trail. And she was the first person that noticed it. She was walking, they were walking, and she noticed movement off the side. And it was, what she saw was a man in black walking across, out of the woods, across the parking area, and into the woods. She said that his feet did not appear to be touching the ground. And that he was all in black, kind of a nondescript face, or she doesn't remember, which men in black, you know. And then he just disappeared into the woods. She brought her family back out. They were done. They were just done. That area for locals is off limits pretty much. They don't go there because they know. They know that bad stuff has happened there. Not just Tom, but other bad stuff. I think I have been there 30 times. I think I've only seen one other person up there. And it was a guy on a mountain bike hauling his ass coming towards me on Lily Pond Trail. And just ripping. I've never ever seen anyone out there. It's strange. But the locals know not to go there. It's just kind of like we know what's there. We don't want to mess with it. Down the road and across the street from Lily Pond Road entrance is an old Boy Scout camp that supposedly had a lot of paranormal activity at one time as well. Like, we're talking 60, 70 years ago. So there's not a lot of people that talk about it. So I've only gotten bits and pieces of it. I don't know exactly what happened, and I'm not gonna, say this is what happened. I don't know. I just know that people are leery of that whole area, and people don't want to go there. So last night I go there. And if you watched the video a couple weeks ago where I compiled all of the videos together of strange things that I've caught up there, if I compiled all the videos that I've been up there, it'd be a couple hours long. But of all the strange things, it was just a half an hour kind of just... I've captured some strange stuff up there. The metallic noise, something running down the mountain, hitting the trail in front of me, and then running down a ravine. And the metallic noise, that's probably the biggest thing ever for me. Sitting on the boulders and something smashing through the woods behind me. Prior to me making any videos up there, prior to me even buying my camera, I had gone up there and walked down Lily Pond Trail, and I had gotten to where the trees are. And this is 4 years ago. And I heard something on each side of me. And I proceeded to turn around and walk. out as fast as I could. I didn't have a firearm with me. I had nothing with me. After that point, that's when I started bringing my Caltech KS7 with me. I don't know what was on. There was something on each side of me. Mentally, what I'm envisioning mentally as I'm walking was not a Bigfoot, was not a Dogman. But for some reason, I kept thinking crawler on each side in the woods. And then I get past the tree line there, up the hill, and almost to the parking lot. I'm maybe half a football field away from the parking lot. And I hear them turn around in like a wide kind of and go the other way. But they ran. They were walking, keeping pace with me. But when they turned, I could hear them arc through the woods, kind of go back and just gone. And I distinctly heard the bipedal running movement. So nighttime, I've gone up there 3 times. First time I went there was three weeks ago, a month ago. And I had started to go toward the tree, the weird arced trees. However, they just, if you've never seen the videos, you will not understand what I'm trying to say. But you walk down this trail and all the trees are straight. There's just woods all around you. And you get to this one spot and there's these archways. And they are, I caught the motorcycle. I heard him coming down. They are archways and they are interwoven, like not just bent. Like these are stick or trees that are in the ground, bent and kind of crossed over 8 feet in the air. There's a tree on the opposite side of the trees that I'm going to talk about that's broke. I put my hand up. I'm 6 foot. I put my hand up next to it and I could barely touch where the break was. And it'd have to be 7.5 feet where that snap is. And it's not a small tree. It's not a huge tree, but it's not a small tree either. A human definitely could not break it. So then you get to this one spot and all the trees are straight. And then there's a section of the trees that go like that for 50 feet in between straight trees. So the trees there are like this. I'm trying to get it like that. And then the rest go like that, in between it. Beyond that, for some reason, before I even noticed the trees that were bent like that, I walked in the woods. It was like I was drawn. And I just went straight up, and that's where I found the 3 rocks. There's a boulder in the ground that probably has been there since the birth of the Adirondacks. And then there's a rock placed on top and another rock on that. And I do not talk about it much, just for the simple fact that people are going to be like, you put that there, you did that. Just like anybody would assume, you guys weren't with me when I found it. You don't know. So, always be skeptical. That's the way I really think people should always be skeptical of things. So I start walking down the first time at night. I start walking down and I get to where the gravel is. And I hear bipedal walking toward me. And I had my camera on and there's no cars in the parking area. And for some reason, I thought, oh, there's a hiker coming. Let me turn my light down a little. Nothing. It distinctly sounded bipedal. Like, I thought hiker. I don't know why, because there's no cars there. Then I heard it go off to the side. Then I went back, and then I went by my car for a minute, trying to like examine what was going on. The day of the eclipse, I had blown the shofar 3 times and I caught vocalization back, but it was going away from me. Like rapidly and like very quickly going farther and farther away, faster than a human could run through the woods. I mean, we are talking mountains. You guys have watched me hike the mountain. It's not an easy hike. I get to the exit and I hear that noise. I hear the noise and I'm like, what the hell? And I go to the wash, and the wash trail is where I had set my trail cams up, caught 3 different videos that are weird. Just trying to think of the best way to explain it. They activate on movement. 2 of the videos, there's nothing except on the second. So they got activated for no reason. The second one, it was almost like someone fogged up the camera. The third, I saw this ass of something walking down the hill. The hill is steep. It's a pitched hill. Could have been a deer. I'm not going to say it wasn't a deer because it could have been 100%. But why would a deer randomly walk down that hill right there? There are no coincidences. So I'm a firm believer. So back to the first night I'm up there, I have a weird feeling and I crouch down and I put my camera up. And I'm talking about the boulders because I can see them. I can visually see them. And then I move the camera, and just past that, I start talking about a bigger boulder. And I'm like, and by that bigger boulder is roughly where I put my trail cams. And as I'm saying that, I think to myself, there's no boulder there. And I leave to go back to the parking lot, and I set up my camera facing Lily Pond Trail, and I blow the shofar 3 times, and this just the brightest light I have ever seen lit up that section of the woods in front of me. Not behind me, not on the sides, but in front of me. And everything that I had recorded when I got home, I realized everything that I had on my SD card was gone. So then I went back a couple weeks later. Roughly the same time, 7 to 8, somewhere around there, dusk. And I walk down to where the trees are. No issues. I come back through. I go up to where the boulders are. I actually go up to where the boulders are, and I make the comment, guys, if you had been able to see that video that I had, you'd realize there's no boulder right here. There's just this empty space. I get back down to the car. I blow the shofar. I hit pause because I don't hear anything for a minute. I hit pause. I'm like, we'll leave. All of a sudden, on the other side of my car in the woods, it sounded like something mimicked the shofar, but very poorly. I dropped my camera, cracked my lens, jumped in the car, and got out of there. I was able to share that footage. Not the greatest footage, but still was able to share it. So then I go last night. And it is pitch black. I've got my exterior camera light. I shine it down Lily Pond Trail. I have no intent on doing anything except blowing the shofar. I didn't bring any kind of equipment except my camera, the shofar, the KS7, nothing. I just went into the parking lot. That was my goal. I was just going into the parking lot. I was not going anywhere else. I'd made that decision. After looking at the footage, I stayed there half an hour. There's like 4 minutes of footage, if that. Because I blew the shofar. I got no kind of response. But at one point I say, is there something down there? And I'm like, no, there's nothing there. You're freaking yourself out. But then I look at the footage, and past the boulder is something. Then there's nothing. Because I go look down that area 5 or 6 times, and at one point there is something there. And then it's not. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. Could have been a deer. Could have been, I don't know. My theory is, every time I've captured something, it's between morning and dusk. Mesick disappeared between morning and dusk. I think that's when whatever is in that area is active. The portal. I really honestly believe it's a portal. Something came and took him. I just have that distinct feeling. There's, like I said in numerous videos, there's channels that are making lies about it. There was an escaped convict out there. That's why the FBI came. Yada, yada, yada. Like, no, you bozos. You don't live here. You don't know anything. You just like make videos for views. Like, I make these videos with Tom Mesick about Tom Mesick because I frickin' absolutely am obsessed with this. Like, I want to know what happened to this man. And we need to. We need to find out what happened to him. Because I think if we do, we may start being able to put puzzle pieces together for other missing people. The feds were there. The cops don't even know why. They had no reason to be there. Tom was not a tender-aged youth, nor were there state lines crossed. Vermont state line is a shit ton far away. Damage control. That's why they were there. They know where these portals are. The government knows where these portals are. Do the local, county, and state? Probably not. The feds do. Anyway, here's that footage. All right, guys. I am in the parking lot of Lily Pond Road, Lily Pond Trail. Like I said, I would be. It is 10 o'clock at night. I'm gonna spin the camera around. So I'm not gonna spend too much time here. That's my bright light, as light as it goes. That's the wash trail over there. That's Lily Pond Trail. Right there. That's where I blew the shofar. Definitely a whole new feel to it. All right. I'm gonna blow the shofar and see what we get. It is pitch black, as you can see. What the fuck? Was there something right there in front of me just moments ago? Throw it back in the car. There's an off feeling here. All right, so I am not 100% sure what it was. I just know that the background changes. For some reason, the background changed. At one point, it looks one way, and at another 4 or 5 different points, it's a completely different scene. The same for the 4 or 5 other times, but at one point, it's just something's off. I don't know. I don't know. There is something is very wrong with that area. Obviously, someone disappeared there. Obviously, there is something wrong there. But let's get into some encounters. Today's first experience. I've said a lot about Dogman, Bigfoot, that there are things in our woods that are much scarier and much more confusing than those creatures. They are absolutely terrifying. I could never imagine having another encounter. I could never imagine having an encounter with a Bigfoot. You know, seeing something just enormous out in the woods. I have no idea what I encountered where Tom Ezek disappeared. But to me, there are things out there that just do not make sense at all. And this is today's encounters, or this one encounter is kind of along that line. So I'm an avid hunter, and every year in my early 20s, I would spend every weekend in the woods of our national park in Oklahoma close to the Red River. I would normally trek in about 2 or 3 miles. My first encounter was 10 years ago. I had set up along a clearing and was a good 20 feet in the tree. As dawn was approaching, I had a large 12-point buck slowly coming into the clearing, about 300 to 400 yards off. I let it come closer, and I took aim and shot it in the kill zone through the heart and lungs with my 30-06, 195 grain ballistic tip round. After watching it fall through my scope, I slung my gun and was ready to climb down the tree stand. I watched this deer get up and run back into the woods on its hind legs. I had no idea what just happened. I've heard stories of this from my youth, from my grandmother, who is half Native American, so I quickly left. A few years later, I was in that same area hunting. I had set up my stand and ladder the previous day, and around midnight hiked out to my stand so I would be ready for dawn. I got into my stand at around 2 in the morning, waiting patiently. After a couple of hours, around 6 a.m., 30 minutes till sunup, I heard something grab a hold of the ladder. It sounded like something was climbing the ladder. It sounded like claws on metal. I pointed my rifle straight down and fired. I hit something on my first shot. I heard a scream, so I naturally emptied the rifle, still pointing straight down the ladder. I did not dare to look down, of fear of what I would see. I pulled out my .357 revolver and proceeded to empty the cylinder toward the sound of movement. Once that was spent, I reloaded and continued the barrage. There was still something out there. I could hear it. I had one gun with ammo left, and I pulled out my 9mm and kept that for self-defense. Who knows, just in case. I fired a few rounds toward the noise I had heard. Then I waited until morning. A few rounds left in my 9mm and clutching it for dear life. When morning came, I looked at my surroundings, climbed down the tree. Around my tree stand was this dark blackish blood, and it smelled horrible. I can only describe it. The smell was worse than death. And it went off deeper into the woods. I hiked to the trail as fast as I could, and when I got there, I saw someone else in the distance. He was going the same direction I was. He also looked scared. I reloaded everything while he was closing the distance, and once he got closer, I asked him if he was heading out as well. He told me that he had heard gunshots earlier and a scream. I asked him where he was posted, and he pointed in the direction that I saw the blood trail go to. He said he had heard something run by him after the gunshot stopped, and when dawn hit, he saw something animalistic running on 2 legs. I got his name, we'll call him Jim. And he told me we should definitely get out of the woods. He was a native to the area and half Cherokee, and told me if what he saw was what he thought, that we definitely needed to leave. We both got out of the woods, surprisingly, parking in the same area. We shared a beer, and at around noon we summoned up enough courage to go back for our things. After a slow hike, we went to my stand first. My ladder, that was secured by ratchet straps and bungee to the tree, was ripped from the tree. It was bent and torn up. My tree stand was still in the tree to this day, I assume. He looked at the blood trail and went white. The tracks were a mix of human and canine. We made it to his tree stand a bit later. He was only 800 feet from where I was. I was surprised. His gear was strewn across the forest floor like mine. His ladder bent, but unlike my tree stand, his had been ripped off the tree and thrown. We both left the area and went back to our vehicles. After that encounter, Jim and I traded phone numbers and hung out when I went up there to hunt. It kind of became our thing to go hunting together. He knew the woods there better than I did, and he was good company. 2 years after the first incident that caused us to meet, we were posted up in a blind in a clearing. We generally put our stands close and hunted back to back in our blind over the 2 years we've been hunting together. If one of us had a shot when we were in the blind, we would signal to the other with a tap in the back with our elbow. That morning, both of us had a shot. We both fired. I hit the doe I was aiming at square in the chest. As it went down, it turned and ran on its back legs, dead, sprinting into the woods. Jim Corey did the same after he hit it. We went to investigate, and once the animals turned, their hoofprints got larger and then changed to human tracks. There was no blood around the tracks, and the area smelled like rotten meat. Jim said we should definitely leave, and I wasn't going to disagree with him. We both stopped hunting in those woods after the experience. Of note, I carried as much firepower as I did because of my encounters with the locals multiple times, campsites torn up, food stolen, and being followed into the woods a mile or two. I carry the revolver to put an animal out of its misery. I carry the 9mm if I need to deal with a person and need more than 5 shots. I have no clue to this day what we encountered in those woods. I had heard of skinwalkers or shapeshifters before, but from the tales. I used a 30-06 195 grain ballistic tip round every time I go hunting. Those are my experiences. I hope you all maybe have some thoughts on just what happened in those woods. Second encounter. Mantua, Ohio is a railroad town boasting a creepy town center with an old railroad station surrounded by rural landscape peppered with brick buildings, sprawling properties with dense woods, and cornfields guarded by sunny farmhouses of varying age and size. 44S runs one lane in each direction. I made this drive regularly to visit my boyfriend. Familiar with the area, I would usually have music while enjoying the drive and fresh air. One day, in the middle of summer in 2011, I was driving on 44S into Mantua, making my usual trip in the middle of the afternoon on a beautiful clear day. I passed a quiet area just a few miles from my destination. On the right, houses on 2 or 3 acre lots with big front yards, long driveways, attached garages, shaded by tall trees and thick foliage with backyards full of dense woods. On the left, across the road, there was a cornfield bordered by deep grassy drainage culvert stretching several miles long. I see something that looks off up ahead. It's hard to make out, but there is something on the opposite side of the road where the cornfields are. It's a ways off and hard to make out, but it's clearly a large brown hairy mass right next to the road. It's too dark in color to be a dead deer. Maybe an escaped cow? No, not that either. Something about this mass on the side of the road is unlike anything I had ever seen, and I just can't figure it out because I keep having to look back at the road. I see it move. Maybe whatever it is isn't roadkill and is just an animal grazing on the side of the road in the culvert. I rolled my window down to get a better look. I slowed down a little as I passed by, and all at once I realized what I'm seeing. The hairy mass is that of a dead dog being eaten by another dog, the biggest dog I had ever seen, with the freakiest empty eyes. As I pass by, this thing pulls its face out of the dog's carcass it's eating, looks up at my car, and locks eyes with me. They look right through me, and I felt like what I can only describe as pure evil. I pass it in my car going 40 miles an hour. As I start freaking out, rolling up my windows, I check my mirror for a double take because I absolutely did not believe what I saw. And see, its head is already back down again, eating and out of view with no other defining features. It was totally unbothered by my car. I slow down, then speed up, then slow down, and then speed up again. I want to know what I saw, but I completely freaked out. I look for the nearest driveway on the right side, maybe 75 yards away, and peel into the driveway to turn around and go back. As I put my car in park, I see that the man is home and is sitting in a lawn chair outside of his garage, faced parallel to the road, blissfully unaware of what just is up the road behind him, while his two Labradors amble around. He sees me and assumes I am just using his driveway to turn around, but is unsettled when I drive almost all way up the driveway, park my car and get out, still freaking out. "Take your dogs inside. You need to get inside your house," I tell him what I saw, and he gets up out of his lawn chair to look where I'm pointing, but the trees at the edge of the property block the scene of the view, and it's just a bit too far. Back into my car, and I keep warning him to get his dogs inside. If our places had been exchanged, I probably would have called the cops on someone who came ripping into my driveway, rambling about some wild animal in a panic. I was terrified and full of adrenaline, with no regret for ruining this guy's peaceful afternoon. I don't remember how I left it with him, but I did get back in my car, backed out onto 44, and headed back north the way I came to get a better look at this thing, and still from the safety of my moving car. I passed where it was, and now it's gone. I drive back and forth one more time in disbelief at the whole event. Further back, that I thought to be safe, thinking I had underestimated the distance between the carcass and the house I stopped at, but there was a hole in the corn where whatever this thing was had clearly drugged the dog it was eating to finish it away from the road. I remember sitting stopped on the side of the road after turning around again and heading back south, looking across the road at this hole in the corn that looked far too innocent to do justice to what I had just witnessed. No one driving by would even notice this. I had my head on a swivel around my car and locked my doors, but something told me I wouldn't see it again and to get out of there. So I did. When I passed the house again, the man and his dogs were not in his yard anymore, and the garage was closed. Completely rattled, I called my then boyfriend, whose house I was heading to, as I drove away, but if I remember correctly, he didn't answer. When I got there, I was so shaken up and couldn't make sense of what I had seen. This was right after high school, and he still lived with his folks in a cold, creaky farmhouse in Ravenna they had just moved into, just a few times over. I didn't feel safe in the house that night. It brought back all my childhood fears of being afraid of the dark and what was under the bed. I remember this like it was yesterday, and even though I've shared this experience with a few friends, I've never written it down. Whatever this was, it was built like a dog, but bigger than any dog I had ever seen. It was very dark brown with dirty hair. I've considered that it might have been a black bear with mange, but even though I only got a quick glimpse, it did not move like a bear. And the piercing eyes in the broad daylight, those were something else as well. This was a canine, not a Bigfoot or any other common myth that I'm aware of. Maybe someone here will. I haven't done too much research into what it could be because I think part of me is scared to know what it could be. Black dog, Bigfoot, shuck, werewolf, I have no idea. It was big, maybe 200-300 pounds, perhaps even bigger. The dog it was eating was also quite large. I'm a skeptic. To this day is the only unexplainable creepy thing I had ever seen with my own two eyes. That truly shook me to my core. For months I could not stop thinking about it, and it still scares and disturbs me to even tell the story. That's weird stuff out there in rural Midwest. Apologies for formatting. It's late, and I'm on the mobile. I apologize for the formatting. It's late, and I'm on my mobile. I'll try to get back and clean it up a bit later. Update. Whatever the Beast of Bray Road is, that is what I saw. No large human-like arms or features like a werewolf/dogman. I am confident I saw this thing. It did have larger shoulders and a deep chest for a dog. Thank you for allowing me to share. All right, folks. Couple days ago, I had made mention about having a fever, feeling run down. I still am. I actually still have the fever. I actually went up to where Tom Mezek disappeared. I feel like garbage. My legs hurt. I have a fever. I'm sleeping terribly. I don't know what's going on, but just going to end the video now. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives people a chance to share their experiences and theories judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Thank you. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Till next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.